I was so frustrated seeing all the injustice around me, and my only outlet was art. So I started painting. This piece is called Dreamscape. So when you zoom into this piece, you're going to see a girl child and the accident of birth. The fact that our future is controlled by where we're born.
Thing is, I traveled from Nigeria because I had a project I was working on. So I came back to New York in March, and we're supposed to travel back again in April, but everything just stopped. So the project, everything came to a halt. So we're just all indoors. It's just so sudden. Nothing was happening. Everybody on pause.
I'll go back to like when we first met. I was sitting in the audience for your beautiful TED Talk.
And, thank you.
And that's when I came up to you after and embraced you, and I wanted to just always be connected to you. And I always send you messages on Instagram, and we always keep in touch. But it's you realize how much more important that communication is during times like this.
Yep.
I wanted to go back to that talk first of all, and that's what I wanted to start off because that's where my relationship started with you. Hearing your story, growing up in Nigeria, from your mother to the lines on your floor to seeing art everywhere. And I wanted to ask you, do you remember, and maybe relay some of your earliest ideas of what art was to you?
Very good question. There's a lot of things there was a lot of, art objects in my house. We had this portrait, very European style portrait, which was hanging in the living room. And then my mother's fabric, in terms of the clothing she had for parties and stuff. She had all this elaborate party fabric she always used for church parties, and they had all this fabric that it would get for like special occasions. They call them owambe. So it's like a fabric that her and her friends would get. So they would all have matching outfits, and this fabric was very detailed. Like it had all sorts of designs and patterns, So it was always fascinating to me to see. Like it's just always, made my head spin. I love things like that. Just my head is always spinning. I'm always looking at it like, how does this connect? The tracing with my hands and all that. Just kind of made my head, always thinking. So I'm always making stories up every time I see like a different design of fabric. I will make up my own different thing, like, oh, this is how this, ended up like that. That was my earliest interaction with art. And that was something that always, stayed with me.
You went to law school probably to make your family happy, right? It's to carry on, like to have a profession, as they tell us, right? Let's talk a little bit about law school. You were drawing while you were in law classes, right? Like, tell me about that.
All the time. I think for me, just the art of, drawing itself is cathartic. Like it's like an escape for me. I always feel this, ease, when I'm drawing. So, in as much as I didn't want to be in law school, drawing for me was like my outlet. So what I would do is, because we had to like memorize a lot of precedents, case laws, when we talk of case laws, like different cases for different, what I would do is that I would memorize the cases and I would draw them. So I would like draw either the plaintiff, and I would draw the defendants, and I would draw the courtroom, the doc, just make everything look, easy for me to remember. So because I'm so visual and just numbers and like all these paragraphs and long paragraphs just didn't work for me. So that was the way I could actually, just make my notes concise as possible. So when I started drawing all these things, my friend would like take my notes from me and they would pass it around the class, and they would laugh. And I would just sometimes I wanted my note back, but they wouldn't give me back. So they would just keep passing it. Sometimes I had to go to the back of the class to get my notes back. Wow. So it was kind of fun. At the end of the day, a lot of my friends, I made a lot of friends that way. And also we would do a lot of things. I wanted to talk to a girl. I had this friend who would write a lot of short poems. So I would make art for him and he would write a short poem with it. And then would slip it in the girl's note. And the girl would be like, oh my God, it's so cool.
I was going to ask you, what is your process from beginning to end on one painting? How do you know when you're done?
I cannot explain it, how I know when to stop. Because for me, it's all about storytelling.
Yeah.
It's all about taking inspiration from Yoruba mythology or Yoruba stylized form of art. So I think it's kind of informed by the type of art I've seen, art that I've devoted myself to, you know, over the years. So I've kind of like seen how, like, you know, when you study something, both consciously and unconsciously, you kind of understand it. You know how it works. You know how that story ends. You know how you're able to, like, you know, place different objects and tell a certain story. For example, the thing behind me now, when you look at it, it's like, it's a story of Brooklyn. So when you look closely, you see the map of Brooklyn right there. And then it's Biggie there, you know?
My brother lives in Dumbo, Brooklyn. And I spend a lot of time there. Next time I come, I will come and see you properly when this whole world changes. But definitely. I was going to say, there's a point I remember during the TED Talk, which was the most exhilarating part amongst many when you were speaking. But your canvas wasn't just on paper and on boards, it became on the human. Yeah. Can you tell us that sort of shift of your mindset onto taking your art onto humans? And how beautiful, first of all, it's, you know, you, I think you really, really touched a lot of us to show that, you know, art is something that we can wear and we can enhance our own bodies with. Can you tell us about the human form and that being your canvas?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's very important. That's kind of a very important part of my career in terms of putting art on the human body, because to be honest with you, I put a lot of art on different surfaces. I use charcoal, I use ink, I use acrylic, I use oil. But the moment I put art on the human skin, it just was like an explosion. It's like it took a life of its own. Yeah. And I think the reason being that there's something so unique about putting art on the human body. It's like the art becomes one with your flesh. And then it's not just about me, it's about the muse or the canvas, the person who's putting it on. It's like watching your art in 3D form and watching it move. And then the thing about it is that it kind of gives you, it's like it's an elevation of our people. It's an elevation of the people of, you know, Yoruba people, Africa and diaspora, because a lot of the art is about the movement of the skin. So it's like a negative drawing. So you can see the melanin itself becomes a paint. So it's like encapsulation. So what I'm using the darkness of the skin to tell a story. So when you look at a lot of the things on the body or the face, you see that a lot of that is kind of stylized. It's about that body. I don't know if I could. Mind if I stand up and get you something?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Like this is a stylized form of art. This is a silhouette, for example. So when you look at this person, representation of like Oshun, for example. So when you look at it, you see like the flows spiral on her cheek. And then this spiral is not the paint, it's her skin, it's the darkness. This eye is not the paint, it's the darkness that I make out the eye. You get, so it's like a negative drawing. So I'm using the skin itself as a language. So the skin itself is what's speaking. And that's what gives you the contrast, because it shows up on dark skin in such an amazing, it's just, I cannot explain the feeling. And this dates back to like hundreds of years ago. You know?
You're highlighting the beauty that exists in this cultural realm. And you know, I want to also inform people, like, what do you want people to know about Nigeria and your culture through your art?
I mean, I just want people to know that, you know, a lot of this culture, this art stems from a culture that's called Yoruba mythology. It's also, you can call it Oshogbo stylized art. And it's not in any way like a monolith. It's not general. It's not, the population of Nigeria is huge. Yeah. You know, I'm just one, you know, from like a multitude of cultures in Nigeria. We have over 250 ethnicities, you know, and I just belong to one, which is Yoruba. Wow. So when I talk about Yoruba, I don't speak for everybody. But then this is a culture that, due to slave trade and due to things that happened in the history, this culture has moved from West Africa. It moved to the other parts of the world. So when you go to Cuba, you go to Brazil, you go to Trinidad, you go to Jamaica, you go to America, you go to New Orleans, you go in all these places, you find pockets of Yoruba culture, then you find all this type of art there as well. So the culture has traveled. So when you say what is Yoruba, it's no longer West Africa. It's no longer just Nigeria. It's the world. So that's what I carry.
Well, I felt like, you know, I wanted to research more so it's interesting how one person can direct you towards a focal point that will enlarge your mind, your soul.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing I didn't include, but I want to always do that. I was thinking about this when I was thinking about you, is that your art got the attention of someone so incredible like Beyonce. And I want to talk about, like, I've had some moments in my life, very lucky, that I've got to interact with some incredible people, and that's my art.
Yeah.
But your art, again, reached a world-class person that has a choice to choose who works with them. And again, you know, that I know that feeling of the honor. Can you tell us what happened with Beyonce? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I mean, thank you, Beyonce. I mean, she's an amazing, incredible human being.
She's incredible.
And, yeah, she's an incredible human being. And just how she looks out for smaller guys, you know, or people who don't have the same, people who probably wouldn't have the same opportunity if she didn't give it to them, you know. And just when I met up with her in New Orleans, and she was thanking me for coming to this, I was just like, you know, you don't have to thank me all this much, you know, and that just showed me humility and showed me something I admired. You know, that was the first thing, you know, this thank. She was so thankful.
Yes.
And she went on to describe my art for me. By the way, she told me she went to my YouTube page. Nobody goes to my YouTube. A lot of people don't know I have a YouTube page. It's where I kind of put I document some.
We'll put this video on your YouTube page. I'll send it to you for sure. Yes, for sure.
And then, like, went to my YouTube, she went on my Facebook, she went on my Instagram, and she was telling me about some of the art I've been doing for the past, you know, couple of months. So I was just, it was such a moment for me, because just to think that Beyonce was watching what you were doing, it's just like, wow. And she went ahead and said, I really love what you do, and I'm happy you're part of this project, and I want you to bring your talent and, you know, everything you have on this with me. It was like a journey for me. So, I mean, that was incredible. It was an incredible moment. And just to watch her work ethic, it's pretty phenomenal. Like, she's the first to get on to do the dance routine, and sometimes the last person to get on, and then she goes behind the camera to see if she likes it, and then she doesn't like it, to do it again. And she keeps going like that and going like that. And then, when we started the painting, the sorry scene, and I started painting the models and the dancers, she just kept, you know, walking, and she kept looking at me. I was like, wow, like, this is, you know, she's just like, she was expressing like this joy, you know, like this, and that's what's palpable to me. I'm like, yo, I'm in. That's what I just kept telling myself, like, I'm in this.
That's when you know you're in your truest element, and that's when you know that your gifts are gifts for other people, not just yourself. Yeah. During this time, we're looking at the Black Lives Matter movement, and I would love for you to tell me how that has inspired your work throughout this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been very, very important to be able to document this in art form for me, because it's been a lot of things. It's been traumatizing. It's been hard at times. It's been tough. It's also been rewarding in terms of the benefits, things that begin to happen right now in terms of, you know, the movement, you know, gaining so much, you know, record numbers and steam and fire and like never before. And I'm happy a lot of people are joining. In fact, sometimes I'm like, yo, where have you all been? But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy it's getting this global attention to, you know, just racism and the scourge of racism and what continues to happen to, you know, Black and brown people, not just in America, but throughout the world.
Yes.
And people often think that art is not essential, but art is one of the most essential things at this period in time, because art is what everybody's looking at. It's using to, like, you know, process all of this, you know, because at the end of the day, people process this trauma with art. People are on their phones. What are they consuming? A lot of comedy, a lot of content, art, a lot of film, a lot of people are watching Netflix. This is art. And just imagine they take this away from us. I mean, how do you think people would cope and survive? No, people wouldn't be able to cope and survive, because mentally, this is how people process trauma. Our jobs as artists, we're able to break it down. We feel everything, and we're able to, like, process this trauma through art. And then people can relate to that. It's like almost like people can taste art. People can feel it. When people see my art sometimes about protests, people be like, wow, I felt that in my soul. You know, I don't have to say anything. They just be like, you know, and that is more than anything you can get as an artist. When people feel you like that during this time, it's heavy. You know, like I had this art that I made about it's called let's see if I can get it. 1 second. It's called Old Lashes and New Ancestors. So this is one of them that I just made. It's you can see the art and the body and the art.
It's incredible.
You can see the names and you see the fist. Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on in there as well. You can see the lines between the names actually is like representing lashes from whips from slavery. And then the names are kind of tucked in between, represent the people that just died, you know, sentences of police brutality and extrajudicial killings. I can see there's Floyd on the neck and Target on the neck, which shows how Floyd died. And the number in there, like 8 minutes, with the neck of the knee on the neck of Floyd during that horrific, you know, video that all of us saw. Right. So this is one of them that I made, and then this is another one that I also made. This one is very speedy. Like you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but these are like black bodies. You can see.
And I remember seeing that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so this is what I've been, you know, up to, just making art that speaks to this time, because as an artist, I think we should reflect the time. I don't think we have, as black and brown people, we don't have the luxury of just sitting back and just waiting things to happen. I think we have to process, we have to talk about it, we have to be, as an artist, I have to be able to show it in my art and let people feel what I'm feeling, because at the end of the day, I'm black. And the truth is, I mean, as much as a lot of times, I'm learning how to be black because I moved out here from Nigeria. You understand? I never understood what black is until I came here. So black in itself is new to me. So every day I'm learning. But the truth is, when I first moved here, it was so complex for me to understand and grasp, because people look at me like, you're black. But in my head, I'm like, but I'm Nigerian. But like, you're still black. But like, but first I'm Nigerian. So I was so confused. I'm like, why would you just take away my identity as a Yoruba person, as a Nigerian, and then you just call me a color? Because I didn't understand it properly. But then eventually I understood that in America, if you live and work out here, even going on that street and a police officer pulls me over, he's not gonna like ask me a question, are you Nigerian, or are you African, or are you from Ghana? All he sees is that I'm black. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. So it becomes me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy that, you know, I connected with you. I'm happy I've always stayed in touch with you. There's something special about you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, I just, you know, and my action is to create dialogue and to make sure that everyone hears your voice through my own lens. And I'd just like to thank you. I'd like to send you love. I'd like to, I look forward to next time when I get to come out to New York, that I will come and see you and spend time with you.
Definitely.
We'll do this in person, but thank you for continuing your work. You know, it's something.
Thank you so much for the interview. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for doing what you do.
I so much love to you, brother. I can't wait to see you. And
thank you.
Keep inspiring us all.